Welcome back to Stamps Old World UK, the channel where history, art and value come together through classic postage stamps from around the world. Today we are diving deep into a very famous and widely collected stamp from the United States, a small red stamp with a face that many collectors instantly recognize. This stamp comes from a historic presidential-style series issued in the late 1930s, and it represents a key era in American stamp design, printing, and collecting. In this video, we will explore what makes this stamp important, why it is so common yet still meaningful, and most importantly, what its market value is today in United States dollars. This stamp was issued during a time when postage stamps were not just tools for mailing letters, but also symbols of national identity. The design is simple, formal, and dignified, showing a finely engraved portrait framed by classic typography. The denomination is 1 cent, which at the time was the standard rate for domestic postcards and printed matter. Because of this everyday use, millions upon millions of these stamps were printed and used across the country, which directly affects how collectors value it today. When we talk about stamp value, the first thing every collector must understand is that age alone does not create high value. This stamp is more than 80 years old, yet it remains one of the most affordable classic United States stamps on the market. The reason is supply. So many copies were produced that even today, unused and used examples are easy to find. In the stamp world, rarity always matters more than age, and this stamp is a perfect example of that rule. Now let us talk clearly about the market value today in United States dollars. A used copy of this stamp in average condition, meaning it has a clear design but may have a cancellation mark and normal wear, typically sells for around 10 to 30 cents. In many cases, it is sold in bulk lots where the individual value is even lower. This does not mean the stamp is unimportant, it simply means it is accessible, which makes it an excellent entry point for new collectors and young collectors building their first classic collection. An unused copy without gum, meaning the original adhesive is missing, usually sells for around 25 to 50 cents depending on appearance. If the stamp is unused with original gum intact and no damage, the value increases slightly. A clean, mint example with full original gum and no hinge marks may sell for around $1 to $2 in today's market. Even at this level, condition is everything. A tiny flaw can reduce the value dramatically. For higher values, collectors look for exceptional quality. A stamp that is perfectly centered, with strong color, sharp engraving lines, and pristine gum can sell for several dollars, sometimes reaching $5 to $10 when certified by an expert authority. These premium examples are far less common than average copies, even though the stamp itself is common overall. This is where serious collectors focus their attention. There are also special varieties and errors that can change the value significantly. Slight differences in printing shade, plate marks, or rare production flaws can make certain copies more desirable. These varieties are not easy to find and usually require expert knowledge and sometimes professional certification. When such a variety is confirmed, the value can rise well beyond the normal range, sometimes reaching tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on rarity and demand. Another important factor in today's stamp market is demand. United States classic stamps remain popular worldwide, especially among collectors in the UK and Europe who appreciate American engraving and history. However, demand is steady rather than explosive. This keeps prices stable and predictable. For investors, this stamp is not about quick profit, but about long-term enjoyment, education, and historical preservation. Condition terms are very important when buying or selling this stamp. Words like used, unused, mint, hinged, never hinged, centered, and faulty all have specific meanings. A beginner mistake is assuming two stamps that look similar have the same value. In reality, a well-centered mint example can be many times more than a poorly centered or damaged one. Always examine perforations, corners, color strength, and gum condition carefully. From a collector's perspective, this stamp holds a special place. It represents a turning point in United States stamp design, moving toward a unified series that honored national leadership in a consistent and recognizable style. Many collectors aim to complete the entire series, and this 1 cent stamp is usually one of the first they acquire. Because of its affordability, it is often used to teach grading, identification, and preservation skills. In today's digital age, stamp collecting may seem old-fashioned, but stamps like this prove that the hobby is still alive and meaningful. They connect us to real letters, real people, and real moments in history. Even a stamp worth less than $1 carries a story that cannot be measured purely in money. That is why collectors around the world continue to study, trade, and protect these small pieces of paper. For anyone watching Stamps Old World UK and wondering whether this stamp is worth keeping, the answer is absolutely yes. Not because it will make you rich, but because it is a foundation stone of classic stamp collecting. It teaches patience, attention to detail, and respect for history. As part of a larger collection, its value grows in meaning even if the dollar price remains modest. To conclude, the market value today in United States dollars ranges from a few cents for common used copies to several dollars for high-quality mint examples, with exceptional certified pieces reaching higher levels. The key factors are condition, centering, gum, and overall eye appeal. If you already own this stamp, store it properly, keep it flat and dry, and enjoy it as a link to the past. If you are looking to buy one, take your time and learn to recognize quality.
Next up, the iconic United States postage stamp, a black engraved 7-cent stamp featuring the portrait of George Washington. This stamp is part of a very important commemorative issue that marked 200 years since Washington's birth, and it holds a special place in both American history and global stamp collecting. This stamp was issued in the early 1930s, a period when the United States Post Office placed great emphasis on fine engraving and symbolic national themes. The portrait of George Washington used on this stamp is based on a well-known classical image, showing him in a calm and dignified pose. The design is surrounded by a strong ornamental frame with clear inscriptions that highlight both the country and the commemorative purpose. The 7-cent denomination was not a common everyday rate, which already makes this stamp more interesting to collectors than many low-value definitives. Understanding the market value of this stamp today requires looking at several important factors, including how many were printed, how they were used, and how well examples have survived over time. While this stamp is not extremely rare, it was not printed in the massive quantities of everyday 1-cent or 2-cent stamps. As a result, it holds a stronger position in the market and is generally more desirable to collectors of classic United States issues. Let us now talk clearly about today's market value in United States dollars. A used copy of this stamp in average collectible condition, meaning it has a clear portrait, readable cancellation, and no major damage, typically sells for around 50 cents to $1. The exact price depends on eye appeal and the neatness of the cancellation. Collectors often prefer light, well-placed postmarks that do not obscure Washington's face. An unused copy without original gum sells for around $1 to $2. These stamps may look clean from the front but lack the original adhesive on the back, which lowers their value. A mint copy with original gum and light hinge marks generally sells in the range of $2 to $4. This is the most commonly seen unused condition on the market today. The highest value comes from stamps that are mint and never hinged, meaning the original gum is completely intact and untouched. A well-centered, mint, never hinged example can sell for $5 to $10, and sometimes more if the centering is exceptional. Stamps that fall into this top-quality category are much scarcer than average examples and are actively sought by serious collectors. Condition remains the most important factor. A small crease, thin spot, short perforation, or stain can reduce the value dramatically, even on an otherwise attractive stamp. That is why experienced collectors examine stamps under magnification and good lighting. In today's market, buyers are careful, and quality always commands a premium. This stamp also exists with slight variations in shade and printing quality, though major errors are rare. Any unusual feature should be examined carefully and, if necessary, submitted for expert certification. Certified examples tend to sell more easily and at higher prices because buyers feel confident about authenticity and condition. From a historical point of view, this stamp represents more than just postage. It reflects how nations use stamps to honor important anniversaries and reinforce national identity. George Washington is one of the most frequently depicted figures on United States stamps, but commemorative issues like this one stand apart because they were designed to mark a specific moment in history rather than everyday postal use. In the context of stamp collecting today, this stamp is considered a solid, mid-level classic. It is affordable enough for beginners, yet interesting enough for advanced collectors who focus on condition, centering, and completeness of commemorative sets. Many collectors aim to assemble full Washington-related collections, and this stamp is a key piece within that theme. The stamp market today is stable rather than speculative. Prices for this issue have remained relatively steady over many years. It is not a stamp for short-term investment, but it is an excellent long-term collectible that holds its value well and continues to attract interest. Its appeal lies in history, craftsmanship, and its role in a respected commemorative series. If you own this stamp, proper storage is essential. Keep it in a stamp album or stockbook, away from moisture, heat, and direct sunlight. Avoid touching the surface with bare fingers, especially if the stamp has original gum. Small steps like these help preserve both condition and value for the future. To summarize, the market value today in United States dollars ranges from under $1 for used copies to several dollars for high-quality mint examples, with premium, never hinged stamps reaching higher prices. The exact value depends on condition, centering, gum, and overall visual appeal. While it may not be rare, it is a respected and meaningful stamp that deserves a place in any classic collection.
Next up, the most iconic early United States stamps, a 7-cent black engraved issue that represents the heart of American classical stamp design. This stamp is widely admired for its strong engraving, elegant oval portrait, and balanced ornamental frame, making it a favorite among collectors of classic issues. This stamp comes from a period when stamp production focused heavily on fine-line engraving and timeless design rather than bright colors. The deep black ink gives the stamp a serious and authoritative appearance, while the portrait is rendered with incredible detail and depth. The surrounding wreath and frame elements add a sense of formality and national pride, which was very important in early United States stamp issues. Even today, this design stands out as a masterpiece of traditional stamp engraving. The 7-cent denomination was not an everyday postal rate for most people, which already makes this stamp more interesting than common low-value issues. It was primarily used for specific mail services, such as heavier letters or certain international rates. Because of this, fewer examples were used and discarded compared to 1-cent or 2-cent stamps. This lower usage plays an important role in how collectors value the stamp today. Now let us talk clearly and honestly about the market value of this stamp in today's United States dollar terms. A used copy in average collectible condition, meaning it has a visible design, intact perforations, and no major damage, typically sells for around $1 to $2. The exact value depends on how clean the cancellation is and how much it affects the portrait. Light, neat cancellations are preferred and can push the value toward the higher end of this range. An unused copy without original gum sells for around $2 to $3. These stamps often look very attractive from the front, but the missing adhesive on the back lowers their value compared to fully mint examples. A mint stamp with original gum and light hinge marks generally sells for around $3 to $6, depending on centering and overall eye appeal. The most desirable examples are mint never hinged stamps, where the original gum is fully intact and untouched. A well-centered mint never hinged example can sell for $7 to $15 and sometimes more if the stamp has exceptional visual balance and strong color. These top-quality examples are far less common than average copies and are actively sought by advanced collectors. Condition is the most important factor in determining value.
Small faults such as creases, thins, stains, short perforations, or tears can reduce the value dramatically. Even a stamp that looks good at first glance may lose much of its market value if hidden damage is discovered. This is why experienced collectors always examine stamps carefully using magnification in proper lighting. This stamp is also known in different print qualities in subtle shade variations, though dramatic errors are rare. Any unusual feature should be examined carefully and, if necessary, certified by a recognized expert service. Certified stamps often sell more easily and for higher prices because buyers have confidence in what they're purchasing. From a collector's point of view, this stamp represents the golden age of American engraving. It is not just a piece of postage, but a work of miniature art. Many collectors build entire collections around this design style, seeking different denominations, conditions, and usages. This 7-cent value is an important part of that story and often serves as a highlight in a classic United States album. In today's stamp market, this issue is considered a strong and stable collectible. It is not a stamp that suddenly increases in value overnight, but it has held its place consistently over time. Its appeal lies in its classic design, historical significance, and lasting demand among collectors worldwide, including many here in the United Kingdom. Proper storage is essential if you own this stamp. It should be kept in a high-quality stamp album or stockbook, protected from moisture, heat, and direct sunlight. Avoid touching the surface with bare fingers, especially if the stamp has original gum, as oils from the skin can cause long-term damage. To summarize, the market value today in United States dollars generally ranges from around $1 for used examples to well over $10 for high-quality mint never hinged copies. The final value always depends on condition, centering, gum, and overall appearance. While it may not be rare, it is a respected and highly collectible stamp that continues to attract interest from both new and experienced collectors. Thank you for watching Stamps Old World UK and for joining this deep dive into classic stamp collecting. If you enjoy long, detailed discussions about stamps and their real market values, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video with fellow collectors. Until next time, keep collecting, keep learning, and keep the old world of stamps alive.